Let me bring in now two experts with the inside scoop from both chambers of Congress. Nadeem Al-Shami, former chief of staff to Nancy Pelosi, and Jonathan Kott, former senior advisor to Joe Manchin. Nadeem, let me start with you because our team who was listening to Speaker Pelosi there said that she was asked, is tomorrow the day? And the speaker sounded like she said, yes, tomorrow is the day. You know this woman. You worked for her as her chief of staff for quite a while. Take us inside what she is thinking now and the strategy of moving forward. It sounds like tomorrow and this meeting with Adam Schiff.
But she's going to keep you guessing. That's what her strategy is. And she's not going to make any announcements until she is ready to make the announcements. Look, she has a very diverse and very involved caucus, and she has to walk them through every single step. And you know, there are a lot of ideas about who should be the impeachment manager. And as she talks to various parts of the caucus about who she believes are the right House managers who are going to go and make the best case. For the past month, she, in a way, has laid a trap for Mitch McConnell. Because right now, Leader McConnell is dealing with, are you going to have witnesses or not? Then you have 4 or 5 Republican senators discussing whether they want witnesses or not. If these things were sent a month, if the articles were sent a month ago, we would not be having that discussion at all.
You also, John, have these Republican senators who might vote in favor of calling witnesses, right? And they're on the record. We actually pulled up what Susan Collins is saying, that hopeful, she says, we can reach an agreement. Senator Murkowski says, we're trying to come to an agreement on this. Senator Romney says, I presume I'll be voting in favor of hearing from John Bolton, right? If these GOP senators would support bringing in witnesses, doesn't that mean they're prepared to hear evidence that might make it harder to actually acquit President Trump?
No, I would bet you any amount of money this trial ends in an acquittal. They can hem and haw about what they're troubled with.
Well, because you
need
need 67 for a conviction.
And
so
they're not getting that. But I think the debate right now is them with their constituents. I think Nancy Pelosi was never negotiating with Mitch McConnell. She was negotiating with people in Maine, Alaska, Utah, who made it uncomfortable for those members to come back home. Look, if those members want votes on witnesses, they can walk into Mitch McConnell's office today and tell him they need votes on these witnesses. They'll get it. When that happens, I'm sure Mitch McConnell will find a way to talk to the White House and say, look, we have to do this. He might want to please Donald Trump, but he wants to be majority leader a lot more.
There's this internal debate, John, that's been going on about this Bolton issue, right? Because Quinnipiac, as we referenced earlier, said that 66% of Americans would like to see the former national security advisor testify. But when you look at the Republicans, they're split much more sort of down the middle, 39% in favor, 35% opposed. How do you read that?
If I was a Republican, I wouldn't want anybody involved in this testifying. Mick Mulvaney, the chief of staff, somebody who should be well skilled at this, was a disaster at his last press conference. I wouldn't want him testifying. Mike Pompeo has given 4 or 5 different stories about Iran. I wouldn't want him up testifying if I was a Republican. So the second you open the door for John Bolton, you also open the door for these other people with firsthand knowledge.
Nadeem, you also have this discussion of who will be the House impeachment managers who will be named. That is, as has been explained on this show, the vehicle by which this all moves forward now, essentially. It's never safe to say anything unless we know it for sure, but with Adam Schiff discussing sort of with Nancy Pelosi one-on-one, as we just heard this morning, presumably impeachment moving forward, Peter Welch suggesting he believes Schiff will be among those leading the House managers. Raja Krishnamurthy telling me earlier in the show that while his name has come up, and we know that, he hasn't heard anything about this. How is she managing that team and putting them together right now, based on what you know about her and her leadership?
Sure. No, that's exactly right. And look, in the conversation with Chairman Schiff doesn't really indicate anything, whether he's a manager or not. But I think it's all about process at the moment. And usually the way things go is she would say, these are the 4, 5, 10 people we believe are the most able, and she would make the phone calls, and then they would all meet in her office. So I think over the next 24 to 48 hours, or maybe 24 hours, you'll be able to garner pretty quickly who is in the mix and who are going to be the managers. But right now, the most important thing to remember is that Leader McConnell is dealing with a tainted trial because his inability to satisfy the president and his members and his senators at the moment, I mean, the longer this plays out, the worse it is for him.
Nadeem Al-Shami, Jonathan Kott, thank you. We are out of showtime, so I got to let you go, but I appreciate you joining us. And